Welcome to AM News Network presents the Morning Report with Rachel Baird and Ed Peruta. I'm Rachel Baird. Good morning, Ed. This is Ed Peruta. We're here every Monday through Thursday.
We try.
From 7 to 7:30 a.m. On Thursdays, we are always pleased to be joined by our guest community
Wild man.
member,
Chris Janko.
I didn't forget his name. I was trying to think of further description of him. That's all. I would never forget his name.
Well, what he hasn't done is his impersonations.
He has not done his impersonation.
He does impersonations.
We transmit live from Harlingen, Connecticut, the American News Media Center studio, and please join us on Saturdays as well. Good morning again.
Today is July 24th, 2017. And
did you watch Game of Thrones last night?
I did.
Good.
And I wish I didn't, but I did.
Oh, was it a bad one?
No, because I was a little off physically yesterday.
Okay, that's enough.
No, I'm just saying I was a little off physically yesterday.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that while the rest of the world, including Ed Peruta, was watching Game of Thrones, there was a show on the American History Channel, AHC. It has
that's the American Heroes Channel.
Oh, I'm glad I said it then, because I was going to say they changed their logo. But okay, good. American Heroes Channel. The War Without End, and it was about the Revolutionary War. And I turned it on, and I heard the narrator, David McCullough, and I said, I got to watch this for a little while, because what a treasure David McCullough is for the United States, and he's in his 80s, and when he passes, it'll be a true loss. I remember when I was in college in Sumter, the Sumter campus of the University of South Carolina, and I had a history teacher named Tom Powers, who was a great history teacher, and he was harsh. He did not mind failing people at all. And, you know, if you got a C in his class, you felt good. And he was tough. And he made us read The Path Between the Seas by David McCullough about the building of the Panama Canal. The book must have been that thick. And he's just written a ton of history books, but I remember The Path Between the Seas.
In my brother's possession is a photo album of the engineering photographs of the building of the Panama Canal. There was some relative in the family tree that was involved in the Panama Canal. He was involved in the Brooklyn Bridge. Yep. He was involved in the Panama Canal, and he was involved in the Cape Cod Canal, and I believe he may have been the city engineer for, not New Bedford, Mass., but one of those towns in Massachusetts. But he was, and there's photographs. I mean, these were taken on scene at the time with steam equipment.
Well, that's what you needed. You needed people with experience in building
other
things.
And I would only ask one thing if you get your computer going. How long did it take from start to finish to build the Cape Cod Canal?
You know, I have a feeling that somebody else may be in the studio this morning who will answer that.
How long did it take to do the Cape Cod Canal? And there's a reason I ask, because some of these fucking bridges and road construction projects in Connecticut take 3 and 4 years to complete a little bridge over a brook, when in fact they built the Cape Cod Canal, they built the Panama Canal, and all of that shit in less than a year or whatever. So, but there's something that I'm going to do that's going to take up a little bit of time.
Okay, well, I had a couple things I brought today too, so.
Well, let me just do this. Okay. I don't normally read verbatim.
We do all the time. What are you talking about?
No. I get things by email that are forwarded to me, and there's a gentleman out in California named Dexter Haight. He's involved with the NRA and firearms in San Diego, and he sent this to me, and I read it, and I said, yeah, that really is a very good piece. And it allegedly or reportedly comes out of the New York Times, and it's by a journalist by the name of Maureen Dowd.
Oh, she's very liberal.
Very liberal.
Very liberal.
Very liberal.
She's very well known.
She's evidently written in the New York Times a piece that I would like to read.
How long? Is it recent?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Uh, and Dexter sent, it's to be hoped that every wild-eyed liberal devotee of the New York Times reads liberal columnist Maureen Dowd's column several times, reproduces it in large print, frames it, and mounts it on their bedroom ceiling so it's the first thing they read every day. Well, here it is. Maureen Dowd. Election therapy from my basket of deplorables. The election was a complete repudiation of Barack Obama, his fantasy world of political correctness, the politicization of the Justice Department and the IRS, an out-of-control EPA, his neutering of the military, his non-support of police, and his fixation on things like transgender bathrooms. Since he became president, his party has lost 63 House seats, 10 Senate seats, and 14 governorships.
Wow.
The country had signaled strongly in the last two midterms that they were not happy. The Dems' answer was to give them more of the same from a person they did not like or trust. Preaching and pandering with a message of inclusion, the Democrats have instead become a party where incivility and bad manners are taken for granted. Rudeness is routine. Religion is mocked, and there is absolutely no respect for a differing opinion. This did not go well in the Midwest, where Trump flipped 3 blue states and 44 electoral votes. The rudeness reached its peak when Vice President-elect Mike Pence was booed by attendees of Hamilton and then pompously lectured by the cast.
Oh.
This may play well with New York theater crowd, but it is considered boorish and unacceptable by those of us taught to respect the office of the president and vice president, if not the occupants. There is a short primer for the young protesters. Here is a short primer for the young protesters. If your preferred candidate loses, there is no need for mass hysteria, canceled midterms, safe spaces, crying rooms, or group primal screams. You might understand this better if you had not received participation trophies, undeserved grades to protect your feelings, or even if you had a proper understanding of civics. The Democrats are now crying that Hillary had more popular votes. That can be her participation trophy. If any of my sons had told me that they were distraught over a national election to take an exam, I would have brought them home the next day, fearful of the instruction they were receiving. Not one of the top 50 colleges mandate 1 semester of Western civilization. Maybe they should rethink that. That's what goes to what you just said about being down at Sumter. Mr. Trump received over 62 million votes, not all of them cast by homophobes, Islamophobes, racist, sexist, misogynists, or any other ists.
Misogynist.
Or any other ists. I would caution Trump deniers that all of the crying and whining is not good preparation for the coming storm. The liberal media, both print and electronic, has lost all credibility. I am reasonably sure that none of the mainstream print media had stories prepared for a Trump victory. I watched the networks and cable stations in their midnight meltdown, embodied by Rachel Maddow explaining to viewers that they were not having a terrible, terrible dream, and that they had not died and gone to hell. The media's criticism of Trump's high-level picks as not diverse enough or too white and male, a day before he named 2 women and offered a cabinet position to an African American, magnified this fact. Here is a final word to my Democratic friends. The election is over. There will not be a do-over. So let me bid farewell to Al Sharpton, Ben Rhodes, and the Clintons. Note to Cher, Barbara, Amy Schumer, and Lena Dunham. Your plane is waiting. And to Jon Stewart, who talked about moving to another planet. Your spaceship is waiting. To Bruce Springsteen, Jay-Z, Beyonce, and Katy Perry, thanks for the free concerts. And finally, to all foreign countries that contributed to the Clinton Foundation. There will be no payoff or rebate. Maybe their countries will allow it as a tax deduction. As Eddie Murphy so eloquently stated in the movie 48 Hours, there's a new sheriff in town, and he's going to be here for 1,461 days. Now, that's a liberal columnist. Now, Dexter Hates sent it. Dexter Hates sent it to me. Those words...
Well, not only that, it's very well written.
Those words, with the words of Justice Thomas in his dissent, in my case...
The Marble Halls.
Talking about the Marble Halls and the protection that they enjoy. And the health insurance that Senator McCain is going to have available to him for his medical issues. Leads me to believe...
Wouldn't he have insurance through Medicare anyway at his age?
Well, let me put it this way. I'm sure that as a POW, he's entitled to VA health care. He's probably rated at 100% VA disability, which doesn't mean you can't have a job. He is over 65, so he's covered by Medicare, and he has the Congressional Health Plan. So I don't think there's going to be any out-of-pockets for Senator McCain's treatment. You know, my heart goes out to him, but in my opinion, he should have retired a long time ago. There are people in Washington who need to go. The midterms are coming in 2018, and the midterm election began...
But on the other hand, his constituents elected him, and we have to respect that. You know what? If people want to vote for somebody who other people think maybe should have retired or isn't all... You know what? That is their choice, and we respect that, don't we?
No, I do.
We do.
I do. But when the people make their decision, Rachel, it's these are the candidates you have to choose from. And in the political parties, be they Democrat or Republican, except it's changed a little, there are what I guess could be called the standard bearers. The person who has a guaranteed open door to the office, to the elected, to the candidate position. For example, I was talking to somebody the other day, and we know who that is, that the problem was the Democratic Party, of which I used to be a very loyal participant, never looked for, groomed, or gave stepping stone opportunities to anyone except Hillary. There are Democrats who I could cast a ballot for, but they're not even on the political radar because the party doesn't want to give them the opportunity. For example, John McCain's been a senator for a long time. He decides to run again. The party favors him as the favorite child. So they give him the party's nomination. And then there's a Democrat, there's an independent, there's a liberal, there's a Green Party, there's other candidates. But because he's the incumbent, they put him there. So the people that voted for John McCain didn't have another choice. I will never forget Donald Trump walking down the escalator, and that first time that there weren't enough podiums in the room for the Republican candidates seeking the nomination to run for president. And it slowly narrowed down to someone that the party absolutely did not want, Donald Trump. But it is because of Donald Trump that we have a Republican president, a Republican Senate, and a Republican House. That could change in the midterms if certain Republicans don't get on board and do what the people put Mr. Trump in office to do. You before you knew
Well,
what I was going to read.
I mean, what's going on up in Michigan? Kid Rock is thinking about running for Congress, right? I mean, he's a very loyal Trump supporter.
Well, you know something?
People like him may just bust in because if the Republicans who are in there now aren't true Republicans, I mean, look at Connecticut. All right, the what is she? The minority leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, she voted in favor of the assault weapon ban here in Connecticut. That's our Republican leader in the House voting in favor of the gun ban. Well, when you have Republican leaders like that, you need to have a whole new group come in and replace them because they're on the side of the Democrats.
I want to say this. Donald Trump tweets, and I really don't give a shit.
Now, what is this Cape Cod Bridge thing you were wondering about?
Cape Cod Canal.
And how long it took to build?
How long did it take to build the Cape Cod Canal or the Panama Canal?
Oh.
Oh. How long?
Well, he texted it. I'll find it. 5 years.
All right. So it took 5 years.
From 1909 to 1914.
5 years to do the Panama Canal.
No. Oh, no. Oh, no. The Cape Cod Canal.
Cape Cod Canal took 5 years.
Yeah.
There's bridge construction in Connecticut over a brook that's taken 2 years.
And we're not talking about our good friend Brooke Cheney.
No, we're not talking about
the body of water.
We're talking about a body of water running under a road.
Right.
We're looking at the amount of time it takes to do the S-curve in Farmington, in the center of Farmington, Connecticut. And you say, you know, if this was on a war footing, okay, this job would have been done in 8 weeks.
But sometimes problems arise when you're in the midst of a large-scale project. For example, I have been working on a video project since approximately December 2013.
It's going to be awesome.
We're coming up on 4 years now, so I completely understand how there can be little bumps or big bumps in the road when you're working on something. Now, the Panama Canal, people were dying right and left from those flies that were biting them.
Malaria.
Yeah, malaria.
Mosquitoes.
Yeah, and...
not flies.
Oh.
Mosquitoes.
Well...
Okay. How long
it's
did
been
it...
a long time
how
since,
long...
It's been a long time since I read The Path Between the Seas.
I already know I pretty much know the answer to
And
this
you know what
question.
he used to do? He used to give you tests. They were like essay tests. And then like for extra credit, he would ask little details about something from the book. And like I say, the book was this thick. And like one of the questions would be from a footnote on page 800 or something, you know? And that would be the extra credit question.
And you did go to college before computers were invented.
Well,
So-
I don't think before they were invented.
No, I know. Listen, no. What I'm saying is, if he asked that today, someone could go to the digital edition,
Oh,
and
yeah.
word search and find it.
Yeah, that
okay,
was
that's an old school trick.
right.
But what I'm saying is, the Trans-Alaska Highway, the Japanese had raided and taken over an Aleutian Island, the chain of islands that come out from Alaska. And the United States realized that they had to defend Alaska. And they built the Trans-Canada Alaskan Highway through the middle of nowhere. 1 year. Done. Predominantly by minority construction workers. They had black army battalions, engineer battalions that were doing it. Because I saw it on the History Channel, the story of the Alaskan Highway, which is still running today, by the way. The Transcontinental or Canada, whatever it's called, highway. But you say 5 years to do the Cape Cod Canal.
No. No.
The Cape Cod Canal.
Yes, yes.
I'm aware of the fact that the Hoover Dam was built in 4 years in the middle of nowhere with unskilled Depression-era labor. They had to literally invent. They had to build the factories to build the equipment and what they were going to use in the middle of nowhere. They had to bring electricity in. Like I said, they had to invent certain techniques and equipment.
Well, may I just point out, though, that there weren't as many laws in place. There weren't as many worker
You're right.
protection
You're 100%
laws.
correct.
And,
Yep, 100% correct.
And back then,
yep.
if you lost a couple hundred
Yep.
workers,
Yep.
it really didn't matter.
You know something?
Now, company goes out of business if they lose a couple hundred workers.
They didn't lose that many workers during the building of the...
That we know of. Please.
Yeah,
Please.
they always say that there's some still buried in the cement of the Hoover Dam.
Right. They weren't reporting everything that happened.
What I'm trying to say is this. If being safe makes you take 10 years to do a 1-year job, sometimes that's not good.
Well, there's a medium. I mean, those jobs still aren't safe. They're still dangerous. But you do need to take precautions.
When we declare war, when we go into a conflict, when we send the military in to do a job, if you planned it so that you would never lose a human being, you'd never put your boots on the ground.
Yeah, but you plan it to try to prevent unnecessary loss of life, too.
I don't want any unnecessary loss of life. What I want is people to get the job done. What I want is for society to move forward, the infrastructure to be done. You know,
boy, talk about infrastructure. That El Chapo guy from Mexico, boy, does he know how to build tunnels or what?
Well, and I know that for a brief period we were both watching it together, how his people tunneled for a mile.
They should employ some of that know-how to build a wall. Maybe that's what Trump was talking about, that Mexico would build the wall.
Did you see the part where he actually had a motorcycle in the tunnel to get out faster?
I didn't
But
see
hold
that.
on a minute. How do you dig a tunnel for over a mile and you come up right under the shower stall of El Chapo? You have to know where his cell is.
Maybe he started building it down to give an indication where it was. Hey, listen, we were talking about the mainly Hartford Police Department on Saturday night with Matt Tyszkka during our show, and an IA report that came out about the June 4th Flatbush incident back in 2016. I was reading my Yale Alumni magazine last night. I'm getting geared up for my 25th law school reunion in October. I haven't been back to any reunions, even though New Haven's like, what, 30 minutes away, 40 minutes away?
It's going to be a great reunion because now you can all talk about Microsoft Word.
You know what? Stop it. When I was in law school, there was like this little cubby hole in the basement near the coat rack where they had 2 or 3 computers that we could use, okay?
Word Perfect. And everybody was using WordPerfect in the law firms.
No, you know what? When I, between my first and second year of law school, I interned or associate, whatever you do, at Piper and Marbury in Baltimore, a big law firm down there, and we used Wang computers. And it may have been WordPerfect, I'm not sure. It definitely wasn't Word, though.
Could have just been a simple text editor in your day.
Stop it. So anyway, I was reading the magazine last night.
Students today do it on their phone. Or they do it on a tablet right at their desk.
Right, I know. And you know what? In 30 years, they're going to be laughed at for what they're doing because their kids are going to be like writing it in the air and it's magically going to be
here's my prediction.
On a piece of paper. Or we're going to be able to think it in 30 years.
No, I'm going there.
Yeah.
20 years from now, the student is going to be able to sit on a beach in Borneo and a hologram of the student will be in attendance at a class somewhere.
Well, I don't know if I should give this big idea or not because somebody might steal it. But on the other hand, I know if I Googled it, somebody's already thought of it, so it really doesn't matter. You know how they have these billboards on the side of highways?
Right.
Why we must have the technology to make those like not actual structures, but like holograms where you can see them because they're imprinted in the air somehow by some sort of reflection. And so you get the advertisement, but we don't have the ugliness of the actual billboard structure.
It's just a sign hanging in the middle of nowhere.
There's got to be a way to do that. And you could change it at will.
You could mow the grass underneath it without hitting the pole that holds it up.
In fact, if somebody came up on their own with that kind of technology, you could do your own ads in the air. You know, we could all have ads in the air,
Well,
and we wouldn't have to pay anybody to put them there.
Okay.
Okay, but back to this. Back to
Go
this.
ahead.
Okay, this is the New Haven police chief.
The New Haven police chief.
I believe, yes. Okay, quoting him, "For me, this is a ministry. I'm a Christian on patrol." That's Anthony Campbell, class of 1995, graduated four-year degree in 1995, and also graduated in 2009 with a master's in divinity. And that's what he once said of his job as a New Haven police officer. Campbell took that ministry to a new level in June when he was appointed the city's chief of police. The son of a Harlem drug dealer and a Rikers Island corrections officer.
Whoa. His mother and father.
One was a Harlem drug dealer.
We don't know what sex was the corrections officer, and the other one was a drug dealer.
Right. So his mom was...
I wonder if he was conceived at Rikers Island.
So his mother was either a could they have... Well, anyway.
Yeah, they could have.
Well, and, okay, Campbell joined the force after graduating from Yale College with a degree in religious studies. He returned to Yale for a degree from the Divinity School, working nights and attending classes in the daytime. He was named interim chief last fall. Even with the new responsibilities, he found time to teach a course on ministry and community policing at the old Divinity School. It's titled Police Others as You Would Want to Be Policed. I got to tell you, I wish him the best. I do. And I would like to learn more about him and his progress. Wouldn't mind taking that course. I was going to check to see if it was one of those audit courses you could take online that you could audit for no credit. But I don't know. It sounds very positive to me, and I wish him the best.
I wish every police chief the best.
Police others as you would want to be
Right.
Well, anyway, we can talk more about that. That's
But there also
there
also has to be the carrot and the stick.
But you know, it could go as well for civilians. You know, it's not until people are directly impacted by the criminal justice system that they become interested in it. All of a sudden, when they're impacted, they're incensed that it's unfair. How could they do this to me? Well, where have you been for the last 50 years of your life while this was happening to other people? You were sitting in your house thinking, those scumbags, they're guilty and they belong in jail. I'm reading a newspaper article and I'm believing every word I hear. Oh, but then when it happens to you, suddenly we're incensed and we're obsessed with it and we can't understand this is happening. You know what? Just like you didn't care about anybody for 50 years when it was happening to them, now that it's happening to you, nobody else cares.
You know? How many times?
So when you see things happening to people and you ask no questions, you would not want that to happen to you.
How many times, because we're running out of time.
We are.
How many times in the last 10 years have I been exposed to a either potential client or client sitting on the other side of the table? And I could name a couple of really high-profile examples, but I'm not going to because they're clients, who have sat there and said with their spouse, never would I have questioned law enforcement actions, judicial, court decisions, court cases, whatever, because never. I was 100%. And now they go like this. I don't believe anything. And we have to wrap it up because these have to go into a big one.
Yeah, I love starting these new
tomorrow.
topics
I'm bringing to the table the issue of firearms and firearms in society
and gun buybacks.
Have a nice day.
See you tomorrow.